welcome to Basketball on Figueroa, the only podcast covering the Lakers, Clippers, and Sparks. I'm your host, Edwin Garcia, and joining me today is Dar-E-N Viziri, aka Dime Dropper. Dime, I just said it. We cover Lakers, Clippers, Sparks, but special moments call for special occasions and changes. So we're actually going to start with the NCAA Elite Eight matchups. We had USC playing against UConn, and we also had Iowa facing off against LSU. I think we both watched both games. I know we both watched the Lady Trojans here. They just lost, so I'm gonna lob it to you. Hopefully, you can nail it here. What was your biggest takeaway from tonight's matchups?
Well, that the women's game is in such a great place, the best place that it's been in my entire life, which I would assume would be ever. But I'm not a women's basketball historian yet. So, but I'm just not disappointed in the team, but just obviously sad about the outcome. My dad went to USC, and that was my dream school as a kid. Obviously, I ended up going to UMass, but that was the school I dreamt of going to as a kid. Rooted for them since I was 7 years old because my dad went there. But my dad also went to UCLA, which caused an interesting dynamic. So I grew up rooting for both, but I always chose USC when they played each other because, my dad graduated when I was alive. So that always resonated with me, those memories of Reggie Bush and them. So it's funny because the first year I started watching sports, USC lost to Texas. We were coming off the national championship. And we lost to Texas. And that was my first year watching sports. That was my first sports heartbreak before any Clipper anything. So that was
Vince Young.
Vince, I hate that name. And I don't like Texas Longhorns. Like to this day, I can't stand that orange. So the college, and then what's funny, as I said, UCLA I was pretty big on too. A couple months later, they lost the national championship to Florida, and I was a big Jordan Farmar fan, bro. In second grade, I used to go back after the game, and my teacher, she went to UCLA, and we used to read the sports section as a class after every win.
That's awesome.
To Joakim Noah in the championship. But I always have a soft spot for Adam Morrison because of that. And that was like my first year as a sports fan remembering things. Before that, I don't know anything about sports. But yeah, this was an opportunity for USC, one of my family's schools, to do something special. I rarely see them get in the Elite Eight. I don't have much success as a college sports fan, really. And it was just, I think the experience of UConn kind of took over late. They were up a little bit the whole game. And I think, they threw the kitchen sink at Juju, constantly loading up on her and showing multiple bodies on her. And I think the thing about UConn that stood out to me is they had a lot of motion and movement in their offense. And not to say that USC didn't at all, but it was more stagnant for USC. And I think there were a lot of ladies on our team that some of the bigs weren't really being respected with the jump shot. So it's easy to help on, off-ball actions and stuff like that when you're leaving somebody open. Whereas it felt like UConn just had more shooting on the floor throughout the game. And in addition to that, I think Paige did outplay Juju as much as the defense that UConn played was something.
Fair.
She remember, she was a freshman in 2021. She's been through injuries, but she has experience at the highest level. Juju was an 18-year-old kid that was at Sierra Canyon in high school last year going to prom. So the fact that she's shown so much composure at this stage, to this level, set the all-time record for points for a freshman in women's basketball Division I history tonight. I mean, come on. Like for me to be able to witness that as somebody who's heard about the Lisa Leslie legend of USC and Cheryl Miller, McGee sisters, to see this. Because I'm not going to lie, Edwin, ever since I met you, we've talked about how I'm a big advocate for women's basketball. I did the public address announcing for a huge tournament that invited Modern Day, that had Katie Lou and some of the best players in the country back when I was in high school. But I was never really into women's college basketball because it was just UConn and Stanford every year. So I was like, none of UCLA or USC was ever that important. And well, I did like UCLA a little bit when they had Jordan Canada, but this year was just special, to have them both in the Sweet 16. And it didn't happen this season. Mackenzie Forbes, with her shot making, her and Juju kind of kept USC in it. But I just ultimately felt like more experienced coaching, more experienced team, better defensive game plan, and Paige was the best player on the floor. And sometimes you just need someone to – if you think about both games we watched today, Edwin, the best player on the floor won both games. You can say all the things about the team, but the best player on the floor won both games. and they're going to be facing off against each other. So it's going to be must-see TV. And I'll just say this about Juju and USC and Coach Gottlieb. They did great things this year. Juju's only a freshman, and this is the beauty of college basketball in the women's game. Don't got to say goodbye to your superstar freshman. So we coming back next year. The hype around Juju is going to be insane. She's going to be one of the most popular athletes in the city if she's not already. And I got to make my way to Galen this next year multiple times. It's going to be special. Got some new freshmen coming in. And one thing I think people don't realize when it comes to coaching is coaches can mature too. Coaches will learn as well. Look at Eric Spoelstra when he started out. He was a great coach when Miami was winning back-to-back rings, but he was not one of the best coaches of all time yet. That came with experience. So I think Coach Gottlieb, she's going to continue to learn as well. And the sky's the limit for USC in these next couple of years in Juju. And I think personally, they have the best chance of giving me my first major title in football or basketball for the schools that my family went to or my own schools. I mean, look, I don't think UMass or CSUN are winning anything anytime of my life. But
No,
that UMass and CSUN make the tournament one day. I think we can hope that.
Yeah, no, you had so many good points there. A few of them I was going to mention. That was my biggest takeaway is, yes, I, just like you, I work extensively, not only just in my writing and watching games. I go in the lab. I got playbooks. I'm learning more and more about sets and what's happening and what's changing and all that. But at the end of the day, the best player on the court, that's the game. It's still a game that only has 5 players, and one player's impact can be dramatic, just dramatic. So we can talk about zones and floppies and box and ones and hammer screens and Chicago sets and horn sets and UCLA actions. And at the end of the day, look, I'm better than you. It doesn't matter. I'm just better than you. And that's going to overwhelm. That's what you saw Caitlin Clark do. I know there was a lot of criticism on the HBL's defense and what she could have done. I'm like, look, I don't think Jesus could have risen back and defended Caitlin tonight. It was just one of those. She was hitting step back threes near the logo with ease and nothing but netting them. And it's like, I think this is just it. There was even one where she did the MJ shrug on Caitlin Clark. She's like, look, I defended her. Like, what do you want me to do? She hit it in my face from 37 feet out. That's not defendable. And just like you said, we also saw the same thing. Paige just kind of took over. Edwards, killer game. She was just eating at the rim. And I don't think USC just didn't have the size to compete with her, the physicality. They didn't want to get in foul trouble, and she was just attacking, cleaning up the boards. She had a phenomenal game. I think that's going to get overlooked because she doesn't have the star power that Paige and Juju has. But yeah, I think you were right. Obviously, she's going to get so much better. It's unbelievable the high pressure and ability Juju already has. I've been telling everyone I'm not really predicting anything. She's been this player since sophomore year of high school, basically. But I've been telling everyone, go. I'm telling you, it's incredible watching it live as well. I can't wait next year. You can watch it. I went down there a couple times. I wanted to go more, but it's hard with, as you know, Lakers, Clippers, Sparks, Trojans. You can't be in 3 places at once, so you got to make do what you can. But whoever is in the Southern California area, you got to make it a priority. Find the dates that work for you. You got to make it down there. It's really incredible to watch. And yeah, she showed the emotion at the end of the game, had tears in her eyes. Obviously, she cares so much. She's from the area, repping the area, and has never left, really. And she did a great job. I mean, literally it's been since 1992 or something like that, since they've been in the Sweet 16. So she took them somewhere they haven't been in 20 plus years.
94.
Incredible. 94, thank you. And it was an incredible performance. She balled out too. They were right there, like you said. They were just always a little bit away, not quite, 8 points back, 10 points back, 6 points back. They never were out of the game, but they just couldn't get over that hump. And like you said, Gino, I mean, we all know he's a great coach, but he coaches. Not only is he a great coach, you can see it in his players. Like you said, they executed their plans well. Offensive, defensively, they stayed composed. Even when they got in foul trouble, Paige took the responsibility. Okay, I'm going to guard Juju because we got to stay aggressive on her. We can't get scared because of fouls. We talk about that when players get passive because of fouls. Okay, well then let's switch defenders. Next player up, they have to adjust. And they did a good job of that, making sure Juju never felt I can attack because someone's in foul trouble. It's nope, we're going to bring you the same energy, just different bodies. Let's keep it going. And, shout out to you. I was just like you. I was pulling for USC. It's a bummer they didn't get it done. But, I mean, Elite 8, year 1, really, really, really good. And next year, they're definitely going to be, a top 5 team to start the season versus this year. They were a little bit, further back in the AP poll. So it was just an incredible run. And yeah, I think that's also my biggest takeaway. I don't know about you, but I feel like I learned so much more about basketball everything matters. Regular season, preseason, training camp, all of it. But I think I learned the most when the pressure's the highest, because then we really get to see what schemes work, what players are meant for the moment, what aren't. And for me, that was my reminder. Oh, yeah. I kind of was like, well, Iowa's not as good of a team. They've been kind of struggling. Yeah, Clark's amazing. And it was a reminder, no. She's really amazing. Like, that might not matter. And that was one of my biggest takeaways as well, that stars still dominate as long as they step up. And all the stars tonight definitely balled out.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say about Paige too is she did the dirty work. 10 rebounds, and she guarded Juju several times. She anticipated the incoming pass to her and got an interception.
Yeah,
I was so
fourth
impressed.
quarter. That was opening play. I think she stole it from the elbow. That was a really big play. Yeah, twice. Yeah.
Yeah, I was in awe. This was my first time actually watching her play in a full game, and I was so impressed. So I'm excited to watch Caitlin versus her. They both are so good on the move, play the right way, make the right plays. And it was the same feeling watching Iowa as watching UConn, in the sense that just couldn't give her daylight. And I didn't have the nerves watching the first game because I had no horse in the race. But in the second one, every time she had daylight or she was free, even off the ball, I was like super nervous. It was like when I was watching Steph play against the Clippers and stuff like that. So that shows you're a great player when I'm reacting like that as a fan watching on TV. So shout out to her. But USC, we back. And I think the last thing I'm going to say on the game is I think the combination of Beckers and Edwards did outplay Forbes and Juju, but you got the points from Forbes and Juju, but you actually got 8 points from the rest of the cast from UConn versus, 8 more points from the rest of the cast from UConn versus USC, and they won by 7. So it definitely was a difference. Those shots by Mule, that girl Mule, I forgot her first name, Nika, those were kind of backbreakers for us, man. And then, Padilla had a rough shooting game, 1 for 9. So we'll be back, and I'm excited for the future.
Yeah, well, last quick thing, then we'll go into Clippers, Lakers, all the normal stuff. It reminds me kind of what Shaq says. He always said, well, I knew I was going to play well. I knew Kobe was going to play well. We need those role players to step up. Because I'm going to give you, the others. Yeah. We need D-Fish. We need Ori. People don't think those players matter, but those are the guys. Because like you said, the backbreakers. That Ori's open for a corner three. Bang, he hits it. D-Fish is hitting those threes. Now we're a championship team versus the Lucas stories. Oh, what a great player. Yeah, but you lost the series. So, okay, cool story. You lost the series. To win, you need all the aspects. And it was kind of a good reminder. As we head into that time of year for the NBA, we're not there, but we're very close now. We're getting to the final weeks here of the regular season. So let's kick it off with Wednesday's matchup. Clippers, Sixers. I think we were both a little skeptical on the Clippers because they've been disappointing, but they actually got it done here. 108-107. So I'm going to let you lead the way here, Dime, as you normally do with the Clippers action. What happened that turned it into a W for the Clippers, even though it was a very narrow margin?
Different defensive intensity, just more seriousness, which makes me question, did you guys have this in you the last couple of weeks, or you just have fresh legs all of a sudden? But definitely better defense. It was still a tough game, though. Maxey was causing a ton of problems, but Kawhi Leonard, he actually had a really rough shooting game, but in the fourth quarter had 2 and 1s and just did a great job closing. And that's one thing I've been kind of critical of this year is Kawhi looks like he's run out of gas sometimes at the end of games, like the game against you guys. When LeBron took over, Kawhi ran out of gas that one. But we didn't have Paul George in that game, did we?
No, I don't believe so. Let me check.
Yeah, we didn't. That's so crazy. I get so mad. All us Clipper fans get so mad that we lost to the Lakers, but not having Paul George is very relevant.
Oh, Paul George did play. Yeah, he was there. He had 22, 34 minutes. Yeah, he was at that one. I think. Yep. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah.
Wow, the one that LeBron took over?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the Sixers game.
No, the game against you.
Oh, yeah. No, he missed that one. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. We get so mad. And it's like Paul George not playing is very relevant. But Paul George had a very solid game against Philly. And the one thing that stood out to me about the game was Kawhi and PG combined for 19 rebounds. And that's doing the dirty work. And with the Clippers' lack of size at that power forward spot, you're going to need your bigger forwards, your two-way guys that everyone talks about, to do some of that dirty work. Concerns, Harden still looks not very good right now, but we got the win, and we got a win after those terrible losses we talked about. Finally, maybe that could start some momentum is what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's surviving advanced time in the NBA as well, especially April gets kind of March and April get kind of weird. There's certain teams that aren't playing as hard. Sixers are kind of in that limbo because Embiid's out, but they're trying to like survive. So you get some weird matchups. We've seen the Spurs cook the Warriors, and you're like, what's going on? The Spurs have nothing to play for. The Warriors have everything to play for. It gets a little funny late March, early April, just for a little bit. So it's kind of a silly season. So for teams contending, my biggest things just win the games, get through the weird parts here where some players are getting hot, or certain role players are trying to like get contracts, and it gets a little funny with the competitive nature of it. For the most part, I think it's been a lot better with the play-in. Most teams are locked in, but it can be kind of a bit of a wild time. So yeah, to me, it's exactly what you said. Just get the win. You figure out the rest later. And in the meantime, you rack them up and try to give yourself the best position possible heading into the playoffs, which it looks like both teams will at least be in some kind of postseason. They'll play past 82. We'll talk about the standings and where things are in a little bit. So for the Lakers, they played same night. They played the Grizzlies. They won 136-124. For me, this one was a lot calmer, pretty easy. Grizzlies are one of those teams I just mentioned, right? They don't have anything to play for. The players do. There's players like Scottie Pippen Jr. trying to ball out and show that they're NBA players so they can get bigger contracts, but the talent's just not there. And the Lakers pretty much handled it easily. You didn't have AD. He had the issue with his lower leg there. That he missed the game. He has come back since then. I'll kind of just say that now so we can just kind of leave it out of there. But what happened? Yeah, he came back, but he did have to miss one game.
What happened was you guys played a double overtime game where he played his ass off the day before, and it was load management. Come on.
I mean, come on. He also had the ankle was bothering him.
I'm not saying he's got no nicks and bruises, but you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it wasn't a bad, it was a good decision. I'm just saying, how much has he load managed this year? Very little games. You know what I mean?
Very few. I think he missed like 3 or 4 games. He's played 96 out of the last 100 going back to last year. So he's been as consistent as possible.
If you're going to load manage someone, I think a guy that goes out and gets a win in double overtime having to guard Giannis, like that's, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not the type of guy that's going to, even though I'm anti-load management, I'm not going to hate much on that. I'm just going to call it out though. Everybody gets so sensitive when I use those words.
So yeah, because words matter, Dime. And I feel like it's not load management when we saw him like limping in the fourth and then he had to play 2 overtimes.
Oh, right.
And then he had to play like 24 hours, less than 24 hours later. He had to hop on a plane and get there. I'm like, okay.
That was the game where he got injured during the game, right?
Yeah, the Bucks game.
Okay, my bad. You're right.
Yeah, that one. LeBron, like, for example, we'll talk about it later, but this week, when LeBron misses a game, okay, I'll give you that because nothing new has happened. So, and it's a back-to-back. I'll let you use load management without me fussing about it. Go ahead. You can get on the soapbox. This one, I feel like.
Game, right? The Bucks game, LeBron was load managed, right? For the Grizzlies game.
Yes. Yeah, okay. That I'll give you. I'll give you that one. Yeah. Totally cool. I'll give you that one. But the AD one, I won't give you because I'm like, come on, dude. He just was limping on one leg playing 52 minutes. Like, and then like in 20 hours, they got a game. Like, he wasn't going to get ready.
I forgot about the hit he took or the.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It's all good. It's all good. So anyway, like Lakers beat the Grizzlies without AD because of his ankle. And it was the Grizzlies, so they knew they could kind of take care of business. No disrespect to the Grizzlies, but they don't have their players there. So that for me was my biggest takeaway. LeBron played relatively well. Again, he was coming back from the load management. He had 23 points. And Rui Hachimura, talk about the others. He's been on a heater. He had an incredible game. He led the team with 32 points. He also had 10 rebounds, which is something Lakers fans and even the coaching staff has mentioned as an area of improvement for Rui. The team has struggled overall defensively, rebounding. They haven't been able to get boards. And Rui's got the size. He's out there a lot. He's starting, and he's got the size to be like, hey, man, you're like 6'8". You got to get some of these boards. It can't just be AD out there, especially in a game like this one where AD's out. Need you to crash those boards, man. And he did a really good job of it. He had 10 rebounds that night. I think he had like 16 the night before against Milwaukee. So it was the first time in his career he had double-digit rebounding nights on back-to-back games. First time in his career he's done that. So he's kind of showing some progress there. Those are my biggest takeaways from this Lakers-Grizzlies matchup. Anything you want to add here, Dime, on Lakers-Grizzlies?
Yeah, it was one of those games where the Lakers, and we've seen this recently with this new starting lineup of Rui, Reeves, and D'Lo, and LeBron and AD, all that firepower, even though AD didn't play. There's been many more games where the Lakers are actually hot from three, and you guys started out as one of the poorer three-point shooting teams in the league this season. In this game, 18 for 33 from deep, 54.5%. And as you mentioned, Rui Hachimura, He's been playing some of the best basketball of his entire career. 7 for 8 from 3. You get a triple-double from LeBron with 23, 14, and 12, and he shot 57%. And then I thought Jackson Hayes actually stepped up and started and almost got a double-double. Thought it was pretty good. 14.7 boards on 6 for 7 shooting. And the one thing you're going to always get with Jackson Hayes is a lot of energy, a lob threat, and he's gonna get his fouls for sure. Had 5 of them in this game. And then D'Lo had 23, 5 for 9 from 3. And then Austin Reeves had a double-double. So you just got offensive contributions from everywhere, including Taurean Prince, who had 15 points off the bench, and Spencer Dinwiddie, who had 14 points off the bench. And each of them were 3 for 4 from 3. Defense could have been a little better, but it's the Lakers without AD. You know the defense isn't going to be great. All you got to do, get the win. And you got to give a big shout-out to Reeves, Rui, and D'Lo because they played the night before, also played against Memphis, and got the win.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree with you completely there. It was when a player like that's gone, you're going to have to step up. And they had players step up. And yeah, everyone was tired for the most part. It was like everyone played that much. And LeBron's older. So it's like, okay, he's got fresher legs. But, I mean, everyone else is pretty gassed. And they were able to go against a young Grizzlies team. Like I said, they're still going to be annoying because they're giving a full effort. And they're young guys who can run. So they were able to get the win. All right, speaking of getting the win, Friday night, Clippers Magic. I think we were both skeptical about the Clippers getting the win because the Magic have kind of, proven that they're here to stay and they're going to be probably a top 5 team in the East. But 187, Clippers took care of business here. You got 29 from Kawhi, so like you mentioned, just a really, really efficient game from Kawhi. You had 14 from Zoo. What happened here? Why were the Clippers able to get a quality win against a quality opponent then?
Second straight game where they actually give a damn on defense. It was a big surprise, But I will say Orlando's offense is not great. They, Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner are still not super respected outside shooters. And even though Jalen Suggs has really improved from 3 this year, teams are, there's no one that people really fear on that team. And Cole Anthony didn't shoot well either. But defensively, they're very physical and they make life tough. And Kawhi had a very, very good game. Zubats had one of his better games in a while because, of course, he's kind of been struggling since he came back from that injury. Norm Powell continues to be very consistent. But the main thing was Paul George was missing everything, but he was still playing defense. In the fourth quarter, he had 7 points, and it made a huge difference at the end. But Kawhi, really started to hit shots late in the game. And second straight game, we were talking about Kawhi Leonard closing the game well. So absolutely huge there. Russ got 2 steals in the fourth quarter that made a big difference. But I got to tell you, Edwin, James Harden, he's playing so badly. It's not like he did get 2 steals at the end of this game that helped us win, but he cannot create good shots against elite defenses. When you have a good point of attack guy on him and a good drop big or rim protector, teams know now, stay home on the shooters and make Harden play 2-on-2. And when you have a big, let's say like an AD or a Bam Adebayo or Brook Lopez, and then you have someone good at the point of attack on Harden, which, that combination, there's a lot of teams in the regular season that don't have that. You play against these elite, these teams in the playoffs, they do, but it exposes that Harden, he's kind of uncomfortable in the in-between game. He does take the mid-range now more, unlike he did in Houston and Brooklyn, but it's still not something he feels comfortable with. And then he's hesitating on his catch and shoot threes and at times killing possessions for us, like we were talking about the first 5 games he got here. So you're starting to see everything I said about James Harden before we got him. The looking old, looking slow, not being able to beat guys. Then the defense, for the most part, it was pretty bad. And also taking 10 plus seconds to get into our stuff on offense. The dribble, slow. I'm very scared to be married to Harden a lot in games. I don't know if he can be a guy that gets 30 plus minutes guaranteed every single game in the playoffs because he scares me against good defenses. But Paul George made the big shot over Jonathan Isaac. I couldn't believe it. Turnaround shot after Kawhi had been the one that was hot. He hit that big shot and one of the more quality wins for the Clippers in a while.
So it sounds to me like you're kind of mentally preparing for frustration in the playoffs with Harden. That's kind of been his MO. That's been something people talk about a lot. Am I reading that right? Where you're like, I'm a little nervous about what's going to happen when the lights get bright and the teams get really, really good. And all the teams left are playing at like a top, defensive quality.
Well, Edwin, you know how I felt. I've had that. That was my whole hesitation with the trade in the first place. But we're taking things a week at a time, a game at a time. We don't really talk about the real important conversations. It's just, I'm an optimistic fan. I try to say, because at one point we were playing championship level basketball. It would be foolish of me to say we have no chance. And I still don't think we have no chance, but like 2%, to be honest, for me.
Yeah, I think it's gonna
win it all.
I think it's gonna come down for Harden not to be. I'm thinking of the end now too, right? We can kind of see it a little bit. Like, okay, this is where the expectation is and what's gonna happen. Again, we gotta let the game unfold and then we'll react. But I'm kind of like you, almost kind of reading the tea leaves a little bit. I feel like the only way, let's just say the Clippers don't finish hoisting the Larry O'Brien, right? How does it end then? And I think the only way for it to not end with you on here doing an epic rant about this is why I didn't want Harden is he's either going to have to make incredibly tough shots, because like you said, he can't get past these guys. He can maybe get to that mid-range spot. He's going to either make incredibly tough shots or acquiesce enough passing the ball where he's not being as much of a liability with the shot making that he's doing. 3 for 12 in this game. He does that in the playoffs, or goes 0 for 9 from 3. You're going to throw a fit and you're going to be valid in doing so, right? If it's a close game and he went 0 for 9 and you guys lost by like 4 points or something, that's exactly what's going to happen, right? You're going to be very pissed, and you're going to be every right to be that upset. So that's what I'm looking at as well. And like, oh man, it's going to be tough. And again, like you said, you rolled with him, you brought him in. You didn't necessarily bring him in for the playoffs, but you brought him in to have that extra punch. And you're already kind of seeing the risk in that. Now, again, these are in victories, but looking further, it's something definitely to keep an eye on. But like you said, they got the win. They beat a team that kind of struggles offensively. They were able to get some clutch shots late from their stars, but Harden is definitely, he's having a rough time right now. And it's been more than just 1 or 2 games. It's been weeks and weeks of that trend. And you start to see the recipe for why that happens. And you're like, well, is that going to change in the playoffs? No, it's actually going to get worse, because you know who has elite defenders? The final teams in the NBA, especially in the West. So it's like, yeah, it's going to be something to look at. But, again, we'll let it unfold. We'll see how things go. Okay, heading back to the Lakers, they played the Pacers. They played them previous week. They got the win here. They got the loss, 109-90. And this was an interesting thing, because normally I wouldn't say I'm in line with Lakers Twitter, but I can kind of see the point and like I get it. This one I was a little bit kind of out of touch with kind of everyone. So I guess maybe it's me, right? Am I the problem? But everyone was kind of upset that they lost, because they felt like, oh, it was a golden opportunity. A few teams in front of them lost. And to me, you're on the road. It's a 6-game road trip. Yeah, of course, on paper, they win this game. They could have gained some ground on Phoenix and Sacramento, I believe. But that's a high-powered offense that's at home. It's tough to beat a team like that. And even though you held them to 109, and the reason they lost is they just didn't shoot well overall. The Lakers really struggled from the field. They were 5 for 30 from 3. So there's the ball game. But I don't know. I couldn't get that upset, because I feel like they've been playing so well on the road. And it's really hard to go 6-0 in an East Coast road trip, coming from the West. So I feel like this was not a scheduled loss, but it's kind of one of those ones where you say, hey, you weren't going to sweep a road trip. But that's how I felt. Are you more in line with the rest of Lakers Twitter and even some of the players afterwards talking about this was a wasted opportunity, losing this game?
I think I'm more on your side, but the fashion in which you lost was a little disappointing. The second half, you got blown out of the water, and I thought it was a lot of carelessness turning the ball over. But also, D'Lo just, he was due for a bad shooting game. You know what I mean? Like, he's been amazing lately. So This was it. He missed a lot of open shots. LeBron
0 for 6 from 3. Yeah.
Right. LeBron had, when the game kind of got away from you was when LeBron and Rui both came out of the game. And there was a couple of possessions where, like, I remember there was one where someone, I think it was Torian, threw an entry pass to Cam that was deflected and taken away. Spencer Dinwiddie, I thought he was just taking bad shots. Like, I think I've actually been more satisfied, if I'm looking at it from a Laker perspective, with his defense than his offense so far as a Laker. I don't think he's been that bad on defense, but offensively, he's added virtually nothing most games to me. And I mean, I like Spencer as a person, like, I do, but he hasn't given the Lakers that extra scoring punch off the bench. And I think that's one thing Stu and Billy Mack kept talking about in commentary was, TJ McConnell, he was a big lift for them off the bench. Lakers just didn't get quite enough scoring from their bench. And then LeBron went really cold in the fourth. And there was one play where he had an open three and didn't take it, James Harden style, threw a grenade to Reeves. Then the next time down, he took a contested three and then turned the ball over on a cross-court pass. I was like, to me, besides AD, he didn't really get much assistance. And even AD missed some shots around the rim. So it's also Indiana playing well. And those young legs getting up and down the floor. Siakam, he was getting downhill a lot. And I thought he was pretty exceptional. So it's Indiana with Siakam. I think people have not talked about that at all. Like, it's been one of the maybe the most under talked about. An all-star gets traded mid-season in my time watching basketball. Like, no one talks about it. And you better believe it's because of two reasons. One, Siakam's not some high-profile star. He's like a fringe all-star, but every year he's a fringe all-star. You know what I mean? He's a perennial fringe all-star. And he's also a champion. It was the second best scorer on a championship team, which people tend to overlook. And he's only improved since then. And Indiana had no chance of winning a first-round series before they got him. Now they really have a chance. And the second reason why no one talks about it is because it's Indiana. Even when Paul George was there, the number one seed, I remember Roy Hibbert cussing in a press conference saying, it's because you guys don't put us on TV. So it's definitely both. But, hey, in the playoffs, you know what happens, Edwin? Everyone's watching. So Pacers will be not an easy out. Their defense has gotten a lot better since they got Siakam.
Yeah, I think you made some great points on why Indiana doesn't get the coverage and attention that they deserve. This is a historic offense. And again, defense does win championships, but offense can win you some games, especially this generation. So I think they are getting a little underplayed because of that. Like, again, Siakam, like you said, all-star caliber player traded to a contender. I think we can say they're a contender in the East. Are they favored? No. Do I think they're going to make it out of the East? No. But they're probably going to be a second round team, I think. And they're going to be, like you said, a tough out because they can get up and down like that. And there's only a few in my opinion, there's only a few hostile environments in the East. So even being a road team, it might not be that big of a deal, right? So I think one of the reasons why as well, besides the fact that they're a team on a franchise that doesn't get that kind of national attention, is also, I think, the play-in hurt. People saw the Lakers whoop them in the play and thought, oh, right, they don't play defense. Yeah, this is what's going to happen. I think a lot of people took the play-in and said, this is what will happen when the games matter later, right? The Pelicans dealt with this for a while. They kind of dug themselves out of it. We've heard about, it's one of the reasons why the Bucks let go of their coach. They're like, see, he can't do it. And when it's under pressure, look what's happening. And the Pacers, I think they kind of suffered the same thing. Lakers whooped them and people were like, let's ignore the Pacers. I knew we should ignore the Pacers. They don't play any defense. And while some of that might be true, the ignoring's been a little too hard. It's like, no, they're a good team. They're going to be an annoying team to beat. And you're not going to want to play them running up and down. And all it takes is a little bit of luck going their way. They might pull an upset, make an Eastern Conference final. We'll see.
And well, I don't know about that, but again,
I said a little luck. I don't know. So someone gets in foul trouble, an injury happens somewhere, and they're hot. That's what I mean.
I think I was absolutely one of those people, though, that was dismissive of them after the in-season tournament that you guys won. But people are not talking about Siakam. He's amazing. People very much underestimate this guy. Like, I think Siakam's great. So
me too.
We'll see what happens in the playoffs. But
right, that's another change too. Siakam added. He wasn't there when that was happening, so it changes things exactly. All right, next game here we have the Clippers Hornets. This one was a lot chiller, right? 130-118. Let's be honest, Charlotte's unserious. Like, this is one you're supposed to win, supposed to take care of business, and they did. They won the game. What was your biggest takeaway here in the final Clippers game from this week?
Paul George had a season high, first 40-point game of the season for him, believe it or not. And it was his young protege, Brandon Miller, who is definitely a top 5 rookie, maybe top 3. He's really good. He's definitely doing better than Scoot. He's making that pick look good.
No, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't really think about top 3. So much of the rookie talk's been how good Wembanyama's been, and where do you look at number 2? But you're right, he probably is like the 3, and that was definitely a good pick. I'm with you there. Only other takeaway I had. Go ahead.
I was gonna say he might be the second best player from that class so far because Chet's not from that class, and then Amen Thompson has been injured in and out. He has not had a better rookie season than Brandon Miller. Am I forgetting anybody? Any other rookies that Jaquez was good for a while, but he's not been Brandon Miller.
No. And I'm not trying. I like Jaquez, right? Like UCLA, all that stuff. I was like, he's kind of like the Josh Hart thing. Like he's. You got to remember, he played a lot of years in college. He's gonna look a little bit more polished in the beginning, but that's gonna as the years go on, he's going to drop there. You'll be like, oh yeah, remember that? And it's like, yeah, it's like, again, like the Josh Hart thing. He's a responsible adult already because of the nurturing he had collegiately. He was going to always look kind of sharper than he should as a rookie. So no, I think I'm with you. I think I might put him number 2 if we're not including Chet because he's not technically from this class because he wasn't drafted this summer. Yeah, that might be right. Yeah, so I think that's probably my biggest takeaway as well. Good play from him overall. And yeah, the Clippers took care of business, and PG having a big game. He's had some kind of rough ones recently. Also want to give some love to Zoo. He had a really good game. 7 for 8 from the field, was perfect from the free throw line. He was getting to the line. Had 12 rebounds. Again, the big man's got to get the board. So I feel like we've had a roller coaster of a season for Zoo. Maybe at the end of the season we can kind of talk about holistically a couple key players, but I feel like he's also kind of been quietly producing, putting his head down, getting his lunch pail and getting the work done. So I feel like that's definitely been something good, and you need that from Zoo with the other stars and everything. Those role players, he plays a big role, starting center. He has to be solid, and I feel like he's kind of been more solid the last couple weeks.
Yeah, last couple of games, especially the last 2, Zoo's looked like pre-injury Zoo. And that was a season high, actually, 24-12. And a lot of it, Edwin, is that Zoo, he actually has a nice jump hook. He's actually added a left hand this season, and we don't throw him the ball because there's this thing with post players in the NBA now that you have to be a star with post game to get the ball regularly. If you're a role player and your skill is to post up, we're not giving you the ball much. And it's very infuriating. Oh my God. Infuriating at times. And Jonas Valanciunas and Yusuf Nurkic, for whatever reason, get the ball here and there with their teams, even though I don't know if their fans with their other offensive options complain that their big doesn't get the ball enough, but we damn sure do because for years, because we're a team that's a jump shooting team. We struggle to get shots around the basket. We struggle to get to the line. And we actually have a post up big after having to watch DeAndre Jordan only catch lobs and not make free throws for all those years. And we actually have a post up big while nowhere near the athlete of DJ. We don't utilize his skills. And that when you give the big guy the ball, he can be better everywhere else. It's all mental when he knows he's getting fed. And I hope we lean into that as the season goes to the playoffs because Zoo hasn't really had a great postseason in his career yet. It would be great if we feed him the ball and look to give him the ball to create his own offense at times. There was even one time in this game where he got doubled in the post and fed Kawhi for a dunk. So he's shown chops there. Kawhi, another great closing game. Russell Westbrook, a solid game. James Harden, good playmaking game, but only 3 shot attempts. He's really struggling to create. He's really struggling to just get shots off, period. And again, I'm really terrified about this guy and potentially going to married to Harden. And the reason why I say it's a bad thing is because Russell Westbrook, while he will do things that will completely ruin the flow of a game for you, if you give him enough time, he will also have those stretches where you're like, this guy is everywhere and he changes the whole momentum. And it feels like we have less of those because he only gets 5 or 6 minutes a half. 7, 8 minutes. And he comes in for like 2 minutes at the end of the half. Like, it's just, I'm very nervous that because we traded for Harden, we're going to be married to him. And Norman Powell, he needs to close games because he's perfect playing off of stars. He's the best off the catch. And he's so consistent. So Kawhi, Paul, and Norm, they should be guaranteed to close every game. I don't put Harden in that category. I'm sorry. I think the final 2 should be between Harden, Terrence, Zoo, Amir, and that's it. Yeah. I think those are the only 4.
The must play. That's interesting. Yeah, I think going back to your feed the big, that's another thing I learned today, which we always know, right? Because AD, that's always a conversation. Oh, he only had 6 shot attempts this game, and you have to feed him the ball. Go ahead.
I remembered it. It was 2 of Russ, Harden, Amir, Terrence, or Zoo.
Yeah, 2 of. Okay, got you. Yeah. So yeah, feeding the big's always an issue. I remember reading old stories of Showtime Lakers and players complaining like, "Hey, tell Kareem to get the rebound." They're like, "Well," and then Kareem saying, "Well, give me the ball," and it's like it's all this anger and mention. And even tonight, right? We're talking about the NCAA, the Women's Elite Eight. What was one of the reasons LSU lost? Yes, Reese had a bum ankle, but they struggled to give her the ball. they couldn't give her the entry passes. Even when she got positioned on a bum ankle, they were struggling. They were pump faking. They couldn't get it. The ball was getting kicked. They weren't able to feed her. And it's like, well, that's your best player, your best offensive weapon. You have to find a way to give her the ball. Like, you have to. And it's always a tough thing for guards and wings. They have to get out of their own head of trying to get their own balls or moving the ball just around the perimeter. It's like, okay, cool, but the player you need is not on the perimeter. They're on the block. They need the ball. You need to feed it to them. And you need to feed it to them. The other tricky part, because you can just pass it, right? Even if you can get it in there. Okay, but did you put them in the spot where they can succeed? Or are they reaching for the ball, leaning back, off their footing? It's like, okay, well, now people are collapsing. They got to kick it back out to you. Now you shoot a three-pointer, you miss. It's like, that's not the kind of feeding we need. So that's the other aspect. It's a lost art. It's a tricky thing. And again, guess what? If we know this, so does the defense. So they're fronting. They're making it difficult. It's a tough thing for those bigs to get the ball where they need to get it, but that's the job. So everyone has to get on the same page, and everyone has to find a way to make it work. And we saw the struggles LSU had with that tonight, and we see those struggles sometimes with the Lakers, and we see them same with the Clippers about making sure the ball goes where it needs to those bigs so they can eat and be successful. So it's a tricky thing, and it's also becoming a lost art. I'm not always on your side with the team, the new era kind of struggles, but this is one of those skills that, hey, can you make a good entry pass? And can you make a good entry pass when everyone knows you're going to make an entry pass? And that's where we start separating the kids from the adults.
Besides, I think part of the reason why entry pass is a lost art is the obvious answer is it's not practice, but it's not practice because people don't post anymore like that.
But guess what? When the game gets tight, that's what we're doing, right? The half court, the NBA playoffs, we're going to see it, right? You're going to see a lot more half court offense. You're going to see a lot more post ups from those bigs. Joker's going to have the ball a lot. Giannis going to have the ball a lot. Bam's going to be setting up a lot of the offense. It changes a little bit. Yeah, AD is going to definitely need to, right? That's one of the biggest complaints. And if you look at the Laker games where they struggle, I can promise you the Laker games they lose, I can already tell you AD probably is not going to have a monster game those games, right? It's a direct correlation with that. He's one of your best players. He's probably your best player. He brings it defensively. You have to make sure he gets going offensively. If he doesn't, guess who you're relying on now? 39-year-old LeBron. I hope D'Lo has a good game. I hope Reeves has a big game, because if AD's at 11 points, where are the other 15 points that are missing coming from? And that becomes a challenge. So, yeah, those would be the exciting things that we're about to get into now that we're getting closer and closer to, the playoff time. All right, we're going to go ahead and now jump into we have one more game. I forgot. Lakers, Nets. That just happened. And Lakers were able to take care of business. They beat the Nets 116-104. And this game was just the LeBron James extravaganza, right? The Nets aren't a good team, so that's kind of what it is. But it was LeBron just going nuclear from three. We haven't talked about that much, I think, on the pod, but 9 for 10 from three. I mean, it was borderline perfect. Only missed one three-pointer. Incredible. He had a 40-piece, but the three-point shooting was really what stood out. And he's having his best shooting, time from three in his whole career, which, as we know, is 21 years long. What do you want to say about LeBron James and the evolution of his three-point shooting, from the beginning of his career to now?
Different release now. He doesn't shoot at the peak of his jump anymore, but he makes more. He's gotten better at it, and I think it really took a huge leap in the 2011-12 season, and that's definitely a reason why he won the championship. You better believe it. Not just his three-point shooting, his overall jump shooting really improved. I thought before that he was a streak shooter, not a great jump shooter. But when I know, and it's so funny, I'm making a joke about this on my last live, which, by the way, if you haven't checked out, go check it out on those games. Very in-depth. LeBron, you could have heard this from me 3 years ago on my lives, but now LeBron has his own podcast. He'll tell you himself. He doesn't like shooting threes with his right hand dribble or going to his right. But whenever I see him pull with his right off his right, because his release is this way. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Off his left hand. When he does make those shots, though, he's hot.
Yeah,
and
it's over.
Edwin, I don't know if I've ever seen in all my years watching basketball, ever. And I've watched plenty of Laker games, and Lakers, even against the Clippers, I have tons of fans at the game with 5 minutes to go. Not the classic, a minute to go in the game, everyone's on their feet. 5 minutes to go, everyone was on their feet when the ball was in play, when LeBron was bringing the ball up at a road game. I mean, I think maybe you could go back to Kobe, and you probably, if he was scorching hot one time on the road, that probably happened. but
Yeah.
it's not something I can remember. And I made a tweet that I worded wrongly today, and my boy AJ cooked me on it. But I said that at a Clipper home game, I've never seen, even against the Lakers, the crowd rise like that mid-possession with 5 minutes or more to go. Like, not the last minute of the game thing. At least not in the last, and since Lob City. It's never happened. I think if you go back to Shaq's 60-point game, though, I think at one point the crowd was getting really hyped and got on their feet. But that was a totally different era for the Clippers. They didn't really have that boom of success. So it was insane. But LeBron, 9 for 10. I mean, I think, my hot take, by the way, this season, Edwin, is that this is his second best regular season as a Laker after 2020.
That's a hot take. I mean, those early years, he was really good. I mean, he had the injuries.
Early years.
As well.
He had 1 year and he got hurt, and he was playing great.
All right, Dad, I was going to preface it there. So, 2020 was definitely number one from the jump. He was ready. I mean, that first year, he was explosive at the beginning, right? Then he got injured on that Christmas Day game with the baby Lakers, and then things kind of spiraled. So probably holistically, I'll agree with you. But yeah, again, his health's he's not able to get to those like highlight dunks and all that. But again, it's not always just about like the highlights there. So yeah, I mean, he's just a Jedi, right? Like he's still able to just get to all his points and get to all his spots, and you know, he's so good just overall. And then adding the 3-point shot, that kind of gives him more. It kind of reminds me of, you know, for Jordan in his later years, he didn't have a 3-point shot, but he's like, I'm going more on the fadeaways because I can't dunk like that. It takes too much out of me. So I'm getting better at my midi. I'm getting better at my fadeaways. I'm still getting my buckets. And for LeBron, I think it's been a mixture of, obviously he's always had a good mid game, good post game, but now he's like, well, I'm adding the 3-point shot, increasing my volume, increasing my efficiency. That's giving me a couple points here and there. And that's why when you look at his point totals, you know, there's not that much of a dip because he's still able to get those buckets just in different ways. He can't be that explosive force he used to be, but that's okay because he's just making 9 3-pointers and hitting a couple middies here and there, and then he'll give you a dunk in fast break, and there you go, still able to dominate. So just dominating in different ways. So yeah, that's a bit of a hot take, but when you really think about it, for a full 82 game season, yeah, you might be right. It might be. I think those younger years would beat this LeBron, but when you look at the whole thing in its totality, you might be right because he's been also available and healthy and for most of the season. So that might be the difference there. All right, cool. Let's go ahead. We'll jump into standing watch. Let me pull up because we're doing this live. So, well, not live, but we're doing this right as the games are concluding for tonight. So I'm pulling up the NBA's official updates here. Okay, we'll start with the East. As usual, we're going to just go to number 10 because no one else is really in it. In fact, I'll just mention it briefly. Brooklyn is still technically in it. Everyone else has been literally eliminated, so no point in talking. But Brooklyn's not going to make it. So we're going to just jump right into the play-in teams. Number 10 on the East, we have the Hawks, 9 Bulls, 8 Sixers, 7 Heat. And if it ended now, the teams that would definitely be in, we have number 6 Pacers, 5 Magic, 4 Knicks, 3 Cavs, 2 Bucks, and 1 Celtics. And then for the actually, let's stop right there. Dime, who do you want to kind of focus on here on the East?
Philly first, and you emphasize them a bit. We heard that Joel Embiid is trying to make his way back. Of course, being in the 8th seed was not something that we were like, he's totally out of the cards when we heard he was going to be out for basically the whole season. The one thing I'll say is Tyrese Maxey is a demon. Like, if Embiid, the thing is, how many games is he going to have? He's probably going to have like 5 games, and it's kind of risky to come back with barely any high-intensity reps before you play in the highest level of basketball. But I will say I respect the fact that he realizes you just never know what can happen next year. And here's, people are going to say he should be conservative. He should wait for next year. But here's another flip side. It's kind of an old school mentality of players is, what if next year's not guaranteed? What if I get hurt again next year? What if my teammate gets hurt? You know, Maxey's playing great. Tobias is there. They have a very good team when healthy. Nico Batum, I think he's going to help in the playoffs. B-Ball Paul, solid player off the bench. I think Embiid, if he can regain even a sliver of that form that he had, besides the Celtics, everyone's beatable.
Yeah. And yeah, I think I'll actually kind of piggyback off that. Let's stay with the Sixers here. Everything I heard behind the scenes, I won't reveal information necessarily, but everything I heard was not good about Embiid. Worry about him this year. Worry about him long-term. Concerned a lot. And the fact that he's even coming back is a testament to, one, the medical staff, his recovery, his dedication. I mean, I've never questioned Embiid. You can tell he cares. You can say what you want to about performances and whatever, not getting it done in Philly so far. He cares. He gives that team everything he has whenever he's on the court. Always a dog. So props to him for even coming back, because I gave up hope already. From everything I heard was like, yeah, no, forget about it. It's not going to happen. But guess what? He kept out hope. The team did. They stuck to their process, and he's actually going to make a return. So you're right. Everyone's beatable. We've seen, obviously, the Heat go from, a play-in spot to Eastern Conference Finals. And when they were healthy, they were definitely a top 4, top 3 in the mixed team. And, of course, once he left, they dropped off. So if they can bring him back, yes, it's tough to implement him. Yeah, it's tricky bringing someone so important back, but also he's a veteran. He knows the team. He knows the system. He's comfortable. If anyone can do it, it would be Embiid on the Sixers. He has all the history. So I think this definitely, they're not a team that you want to play early, because that's not a true number 8 seed. That's a team that had their star leave and come back, who's very comfortable. So that might be a tricky thing for Boston. That might make round 1 go from they'd rather play the Bulls, right, over the Sixers. You'd much rather have the Bulls over the Sixers. So that might make things very, very difficult. And of course, if he comes back, maybe they can even sneak out of that 8 spot, get to the 7th. I think 6 is probably too far for them at this point, but that might be an interesting thing. So yeah, keeping an eye on the Sixers, especially with Embiid coming back. Absolutely. All right, let's go to the West now. Okay, so Western Conference, we're going to still keep Houston in there, but they're 2 games back, so it's getting a little dicey. This might be the last week, but number 11, we have the Rockets, and then officially in the play-in, if it all ended right now, 10 Warriors, 9 Lakers, 8 Kings, 7 Suns. And then in the playoffs, if everything was done, top 6, we have 6 Pelicans, 5 Mavs, 4 Clippers, and then 3 Timberwolves, 2 Nuggets, and 1 the Oklahoma City Thunder. Dime, where do you want to focus on the West right now?
We're not going to focus on the obvious first, but the first thing I want to say is that the Golden State Warriors have won 4 games in a row. Starting to turn it on. Let's be honest, as much as it would be funny to clown, especially on your side, because we haven't really had beef with the Warriors like that in many years, but if the Warriors missed the play-in entirely, because they were killing the Lakers in 2022 when you missed the play-in, that would be hilarious. But the basketball world needs Steph Curry in a play-in game. I mean, we just need it. I just need to see it. And the Lakers, there's a good chance that you guys can move up to the 8th seed. And I haven't said that yet because of the injuries to Malik Monk and Kevin Huerter. And let me just say this. I don't know if the Kings are going to make the playoffs. If they do make the playoffs, they will not win a series this year, which I already didn't think they were going to win. And they're not going to win now without those 2 guys. It's just too much on Sabonis and Fox. And I don't think they have a good enough defense, even if those guys were healthy. I think next year they should look to either get rid of Harrison Barnes and replace him with someone better or bring him off the bench. But you're going to need one other guy in there to win a championship, because I don't know if Fox at his peak. Does he still have more years to grow? I think he still does.
But yeah, he still has some room. Only a little bit. I think only a little bit. We're near his prime, near his best.
Is he looking like a best player on a championship team kind of thing?
Number 1 on a title team?
Yeah.
No, I think he could be a number 2. He either needs an incredible wing on his side or a dominant big to pair with him. I think he needs a little bit.
He's got one of the best bigs in the league. So I think the only other step is you make it a big 3. You just don't have a LeBron of your big 3 or a Magic. You don't have one of those top 10, but you have I'm not going to disrespect Garnett and Pierce like that, because they were easily top 10 in 08. But Ray Allen was not top 10 in 08. He was still very good, though. Yeah. So I guess someone like a Ray Allen for them. A third guy that's a star, but like a low-level star. Like Siakam would have been so good for them. I thought he was the move, but it didn't happen. So Kings aren't going to make it. And the obvious is Clippers in Dallas round 3. And it's looking like it's going to happen because Brandon Ingram is out. So, yeah. And it's been I've been asked this question so much the last 48 hours. Would you rather play New Orleans? Would you rather play Dallas? Find out in the next episode of Dime Dropper.
Oh, okay. Beautiful tease. Beautiful tease.
It's going to be the next episode of Locked On Clippers, actually. But let me ask you, actually. If you're me, what do you go with? Because the Pelicans own us in the regular season. schematically, we have no one for Zion, and they have Herb Jones, Najee Marshall, Jose Alvarado, all these guys, Trey Murphy, Ingram, for PG, Kawhi, and Harden. But they don't have playoff experience. And, well, at least with Zion, and Ingram has to come back in the next couple of games. He's in the same situation as Embiid is, but obviously not as serious. But still, he's come back from an injury. And then the other side of the coin is, basketball-wise, it looks like Dallas won't be able to do as much with us defensively, even though they've been better at defense lately. But you're playing against Luka, and they might have the best player in the series. Whereas Kawhi is still considered the best in the series. Luka, with help now, given the history, will you be able to beat him 3 times now that he has Kyrie? So let me know, what would you rather have?
So I'm putting on the hat. Alternate universe. Edwin's a Clipper fan. You know, I'm doing what I do for the Lakers for the Clippers. I'm coming home, have 2 weeks of basketball against a team. I'm laying in bed. It's nighttime. The mind wanders. Do I want to worry about Jose Alvarado and Brandon Ingram or Luka and Kyrie? And I'm saying, give me Jose Alvarado, baby. Bro, come on down, Zion.
Did you kill Zion or something? Just didn't mention him.
I mean, you're going to have problems, right? Either way, this is the West. You're not going to play, you know, every team's got stars and good players. I'm going down to New Orleans. You know, I'm, you know, getting some beignets. Like, we're doing that. I do not want to play Luka. I don't want to play Kyrie. I definitely want to play Luka and Kyrie when they're right now on a 7-game winning streak. And I think Dallas is a more hostile crowd. It's more energy. No offense to New Orleans.
That's
Rel's out there.
That stadium is really small. They packed that out in the playoffs.
I'm just saying, comparing the two, just looking Dallas, New Orleans, I'm thinking about everything. Give me New Orleans. They're inexperienced. You're still going to have the Clippers home court advantage, right? In this scenario, they're still, let's say, the 4-5 seed, right? So, no, I'm going to go with that. And again, like you said, we just talked about it, right? Especially even in basketball, even with all that stuff, the better player wins. In the series, they're going to have Luka, and you know how good Kyrie can be. That scares me. Compared to, can Zion be better than the big three and the Clippers? Yeah, could be. Every night, again, bigs have trouble. Zion's had trouble. They might struggle getting in, again, the same stuff we talked about. Have trouble getting in the ball. He's not being aggressive. Guess what? You know, Kawhi goes back to being prime MJ. He's going 15 for 16 from the field. And, you know, next thing you know, you're like, oh, guess what? We're kind of in control of this series. I don't know why they didn't get the ball to Zion, but I'm glad they didn't. And guess what? Now you're winning. Versus, you don't have to worry about that with Luka. He's going to get his shots up. Kyrie's going to get his shots up. You're going to have to beat those guys. And y'all have done it before, but not with Kyrie. And they're literally playing the best basketball I've seen them play since they've joined together. So this is not the time. I don't want to play them in 2 weeks for a 2-week duration, knowing that they're red hot with all the confidence in the world. So I personally would say, give me New Orleans. I'll deal with that. If you lose to New Orleans, we lose to New Orleans. Hey, the West is brutal this year. I do not want to play. If I have to choose, I'm not picking the Dallas Mavericks. I'd rather play the Pelicans. I'd rather play the Kings. Maybe even the Suns. You know, I know those aren't really real possibilities right now. But
100% would rather play the Suns.
Right?
But yeah, I agreed with everything you said, and that's totally fair. The Dallas thing. The only thing I disagree with is, I think if we lose to the Mavericks, it's bad, right? Because the Clippers losing in the first round would be terrible. The Clippers losing in general. The fact that we have no injury excuse, Edwin. Like, this has been the thing for the last couple of years. Kawhi was supposed to win a championship when he got here. Remember the hype that first year?
Yeah. Do I remember the hype? Yes, I remember the stock price going up and Pat Bev and Lou
right.
in casinos in Vegas talking about, the parade happening. Yeah.
So like Kawhi, he might be a little worse than he was then, but he's not that much worse.
No.
Paul George, he might be a little worse. It's not that much worse. James Harden is on the team. He's a 3rd-star caliber player. He's obviously worse. Yeah, of course. But we never were signing that James Harden from 2020. Right. We have a 3rd star. So the expectation is chip or bust for the Clippers. It's not like, if you lose in the first round, it's gonna be bad regardless. But here's the thing: as the neutral basketball fan will say, I wouldn't be surprised if the Clippers lost to Luka, because if the Mavericks Luka finally has another real star with him. But if we lose to New Orleans, an inexperienced team, no, regardless of the
You're gonna
matchup
get
stuff,
yeah.
it's
You're
going to
right.
be a
You're right.
really bad look because they don't have playoff experience like that. They have one series under their belt without Zion. I don't even think Trey Murphy. I know Trey Murphy was a rookie, so
Yeah.
it's and Alvarado. Those guys were all rookies, but it's not the same as the championship pedigree of a Kawhi Leonard, the conference finals, the finals appearance of James Harden and Russell Westbrook. Like it would be a horrible look. And it's kind of a look like if you lose to New Orleans, you're not going to win next year in this West. You're old.
So interesting. You went again. Your Clipper mentality. You went negative. You're like, if we lose, what's the worst loss? And definitely the worst loss is the Pelicans. Like you said, if you lose to Dallas, you're like, well, yeah, Luka's incredible. Okay, you shake his hand and you say, we'll see you next year, right? You lose to Jose Alvarado, and yeah.
We'll shake your hand. I don't know about we'll see you next year. There's going to need to be some discussions if we lose first round. Absolutely.
Man,
come on,
that's interesting. Yeah, you're right.
Every year to do this. You're 32 plus, all three of you.
Yeah, and you're opening up a new stadium, all that stuff. Yeah, you're right. It's gonna be tough opening up all of that and saying like, well, same guys that didn't get it done last year, we're running it back. Like, yeah, you're right. The narrative starts to the pressure. And you know what? Shout out to your ownership group. They listen and they do respond. And I think if Ballmer sees them flame out in the first round, he's going to be like, we're going to make changes because I'm not opening a new stadium with a team that flamed out. I was surprised when he let go of Doc. I thought he was going to just do classic Clipper stuff and say, oh, yeah, no big deal. And he was like, no. That was the first time I was like, oh, Ballmer's serious. I'm like, oh, he did fire him. Oh, it's not acceptable. I'm like, no, new. That's when I really felt like the Clippers were new and different. So I'm like, oh, the star chasing, everyone's trying to get stars. So of course you can assign stars when you get a chance. But the accountability, that was to me, that kind of raised my eye more than even getting Kawhi and PG and stuff. So yeah, you're right. I think Ballmer probably will say, hey, we're going to do something else because I'm not going to bring these guys back if they're getting cooked in the first round and trust them to open up my new stadium. And that's what I'm selling the fan base on. Come watch the guys who didn't get it done last year and not get it done this year. So it's going to be interesting. The pressure, things can switch so quickly in the West and in LA. You can be a star one day and the next day, the water is cold in the Pacific Ocean. That's definitely for sure. So it'll be interesting seeing. I'm excited. I can't wait for this. Is the time that we're going to get into. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the games. It's the second to last week because next week we'll have a longer one and then we'll be wrapping it up. So we're getting there. So, all right, starting tomorrow, Tuesday, we got Clippers Kings. Speaking of the Kings, got Clippers Kings coming up. Dime, who do you have winning Clippers Kings?
I'm going with the Clippers, actually. I think we're going to continue the hot streak and the Kings without Monk and Herter. I think I'm going to go with the Clips.
All right, cool. I'm also going Clippers. Let me go ahead and put that down. Same thing. I think that you're just catching them at the good time. And I think that it's more about that than like who would be better if everyone was healthy and stuff. We're talking about this game, this exact scenario. I'm going Clippers here. All right, Lakers, Raptors. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of the injury report here. Jackson Hayes is likely going to play. Gabe Vincent's out, but it's just because he's resting. We actually didn't talk about him returning. He returned. He looked good. It's because of the back-to-back they've already Dave McMillan of ESPN has reported that that's why. So don't be alarmed. Like, oh, he's out again. It's like, nah, he's only out because of back-to-back. So, again, he's just coming back from knee surgery. So they're going to kind of pace him a little bit. We don't know what's up with LeBron and AD. They're both questionable, which is normal. So that's not really an update. But we just talked about them load managing. I wouldn't be shocked if one of them misses this game. So we'll see. We don't know. Now that you have that context, Lakers, Raptors, what do you have happening there?
Raptors are tanking right now massively, so Lakers are going to beat them.
Yeah, I think same thing. Lakers are going to take care of business. I'm still kind of nervous depending on who's available, but the Lakers also know how important these games are. They got to get the wins, and they've shown they can get the wins without LeBron and AD, and they've staggered them. I don't think there hasn't been a game they've both missed, I think, since the Celtics game on the road where they actually won despite that, which was awesome. I think that's the last time they've both missed a game. So I think even if they stagger them, they'll get the win there. All right, cool. So we got them both winning. Lakers beating the Raptors. All right, Wednesday, Lakers are back. Like I said, back to back. Final road game here before they come back. They're playing the Wizards. Again, the injuries are what they're going to be. Who do you have winning this one?
I got the Lakers.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I think they're just going to take care of business here. They're going to run through A 5-1 road trip. Pretty good. I mean, I don't think you can complain. They're doing what they need to do to try to sneak in there. It's tough because they only have the tiebreaker over the Suns. They got swept by the Kings, so they really have to straight up get past the Kings. They cannot be tied. Well, they can be tied with the Suns, but they're also winning their game. So it's going to be tough. They're going to need a win and get some help, but they've been winning their games. I think they're going to win this one as well. All right. And then Thursday, we're back with the Clippers. Nuggets. 7 o'clock game. It's here in LA. What happens then?
Well, first of all, we will be there no matter what. And I think here's my answer. If Jamal Murray plays, we're going to lose. If Jamal Murray doesn't play, we're going to win.
Okay. I can't put down woulda, coulda. Give me at least a prediction. Do you think he'll play?
L.
Okay, L. I'm gonna go with he doesn't play, and the Clippers win. So I'm gonna go with the Clippers win.
That would be 5 straight wins, Edwin.
I said things can turn. Some things can turn the other way, right? One day you're worried about making rent. Next day, you get a check where you're like, hey, dinner's on me, guys. So that's the Clipper way right now. They had a bad couple weeks, and now, hey, guess what? They're racking up some wins here. So I think the circumstances help. Kings had some injuries. Denver looks like they're maybe they're going to give up that 1 seed, and OKC gets it, and they're like, hey, it's probably better if Jamal just gets his rest in this game. And, when we win, we lose, we lose. I don't think they're also as worried. I've been saying that. I don't think they were going to get the number 1 seed because I don't think they care as much. It's the champs, and they know as long as they get a top seed, which at this point they're guaranteed, they'll be okay. And again, I mean, who's scared about going to the Thunder for an extra game or Minnesota for an extra game? They're not the most. It's not a hostile environment. You're all right being a top 3 there. So I don't think they're as worried about that. They're probably more worried about let's be ready for the big run because they're probably gonna have a really big run. And let's get it. If we can get Murray a couple extra games off here, and okay, we lose a game. So what? We're a 2 seed. I think they'll be okay with that. So I think that also is gonna probably factor in. All right, Friday. Again, now that y'all are on the back-to-back, you got Clippers Jazz. What happens here when you play the trash?
I'll be there to trash them up. We're going to beat them.
Yeah, I got the same thing. Okay, so we're pretty even here. It's a lot of winning. All right, yeah, same thing. Again, Utah's not trying to do anything.
Why do both of us have very easy schedules to end the year? It's kind of nice.
Yeah, I noticed that when I did my predictions for the whole season, I predicted every Lakers game. I had them kind of going on a run. I was like, man, the end of the schedule's pretty kind to the Lakers. So I noticed that even when the season started, I'm like, oh, there's going to be some wins here. And yeah, that's what's happening. It's kind of tricky with the Lakers, at least the Clippers. I know you've been frustrated at times with the season, but in general, they are a good team. While the Lakers is kind of like, I hope this isn't fool's gold. So I'm like, yeah, we're doing great against the Nets and the Raptors, but guess we're going to have to play when it matters. Booker and KD and Beal and Steph, and like, are we ready for that stuff? So it's a little tricky. Again, it gets a little silly this time of year because you're beating up on some teams based on your schedule. I don't know. We'll see. But hey, you got to win. You got to beat who's in front of you and take it from there. So Clippers have been doing their job last week. Looks like we have them doing their job this week, and the Lakers are taking care of business out east. So I mean, that's all they can do. You can only play who's in front of you and take it from there. So yeah, I have them winning there. Lakers, Cavs. I also have them winning here. I just think that they'll be ready to go. This one might be a little tricky because the Cavs are definitely a better team than the teams we just discussed. The Lakers playing. What do you have happening here Saturday? 12:30 game. Really a weird time. I don't know why it's so early, but I'll be there. What do you think is going to happen?
That's a Clipper game kind of time, 12:30.
Yeah.
I think you got it's because the King. Wow. That lets you know, see? Lakers don't even get priority. The Kings are playing the Canucks that night. I'm actually contemplating going to that game Saturday night. But that's why it was built for hockey. It was built for hockey. So I might go see the A team at night.
All right.
Lakers going to win. Lakers going to win. But the Cavs are slumping. So if they get a win before that, or like they're due for a win, you'll never know. But I'm going to go with the Lakers. Playing good ball right now.
Yeah, me too. I'll go Lakers. That would make me nervous from all my predictions because, it's not far-fetched to say the Cavs just straight up beat them, And I already know because the Lakers always say this, first game back from a road trip's hard. It's like, okay, I get it. Like, step up. But it is true. They're coming back from a road trip. If they go 5 for 6, they're going to feel pretty good. It's a Saturday game. It's early. The routines are off. Cleveland, they're going to want to ball out. I wouldn't be shocked if they lost, but I'm going to go with the win. So we'll see. All right. The next day, guess what? They're back like they never left. Clippers, Cavs, another B team playing in crypto because they're not the A team in crypto. As the Clippers are playing the Cavs at 12:30 because the Lakers have the late game. So the Cavs hanging out at 12:30 in LA for back-to-back days. What happens in this matchup? Clippers, Cavs. Do the Cavs take the double L, or are they going to split it here?
Ooh. You know what? I'm going to go with a win. I will be there. That's a 3 and 4 for me, Edwin. I'm going to be at Staples Center 3 times in 4 nights. I did that trifecta a couple weeks ago. That was nuts. But
yeah, that was.
done a lot of back-to-backs, but the 3 and 4, I've done one of those this season. It's gonna be another brutal one, but it'll be fun.
Yeah, you got to, because you won't be able to do that next year, right? Even if you do go to multiple games, they'll be at different locations. So same building. It's the end of an era, so go hard for it, because next year you'll be spending a lot of time in Inglewood. So,
well, if I go to the Kings game, that would technically be 4 nights in a row.
Yeah,
I don't know if I can do that. Oh my god!
They might start paying your rent or something.
4 nights in a row is excessive. I'm gonna have to save my money for the playoffs. I'll try to go to a Kings game in the playoffs.
Yeah, Kings games are fun. I haven't gone this year, but it's cool going to a Kings game. The last time I went to Kings, I think Sabres, and Kings came back and won, so it was a good time. But yeah, it's fun going to Kings games for sure. It does feel weird because for me, crypto is a Lakers stadium, so then I see it like in the darkness and the ice it's kind of cold. I'm like, what's going on? But it's always a fun time. So definitely implore anyone in LA, if you've never been to a hockey game or a Kings game, you should go, because it's a fun vibe and it's a different aesthetic. It feels different. So for sure. I also have the Clippers taking care of business. I have the Cavs taking a double L. I just think both LA teams know what time it is, and it's crunch time. And until things are solidified, I think you're going to see some good play from both teams as they try to jockey for position in the West. All right, final game we're going to talk about: Lakers, Timberwolves. Same day, later on at night. I won't be there because that's my day off, but Lakers, T-Wolves, it'll be there at Crypto. I'm going to go with the Lakers L. I just think the Timberwolves are ready, and they've been playing really well. They played the Lakers well in every matchup, and, I don't think they're going to sweep through the schedule this week, unfortunately. What do you have happening here?
I'm going to go with the Wolves, too.
All right, so I'm just going to go with for the Lakers, and then so am I. All right, cool. So there you go. Oh, man, we're almost there, Dan. I'm getting nervous. Almost there at the end of the season.
It's crazy. It doesn't feel like it should be this close to the playoffs. I'm like, I don't know if I'm emotionally prepared for that.
I'm not ready for any of it. It's been, and especially me covering it, it's like, I don't know about you, but it's like part of it's the exhaustion of like, man, we've been doing this for so many weeks, but then it's also like, I don't want it to end. And then it really becomes like the season hangs in the balance as you're like, the whole thing's going. So it's gonna be wild. It's gonna be fun, but I can't wait. So we're almost there. A couple more weeks of regular season action, and yeah, normally or a couple years ago, you kind of already knew where your team's spot was, but it's very fluid. The Lakers can go technically as high as 6, but that's not going to happen. But they can go as high as 7, and they can also go as low as 10. So it's still very, very fluid. And same thing with the Clippers. There's no guarantee yet, although it's looking more and more solidified. There's still a lot of movement that can happen. So basically, you got to win your games to at least make sure you control your destiny. So that's where they're both at. So we'll recap next week. We'll see how things go. So, all right, that's it. That's the end of episode 24. 23, I believe. We're on 23. Okay, yeah, we're the Jordan number. All right, episode 23 of Basketball on Figueroa. I'm Edwin. That was Star Ian Viziri, aka Time Dropper, and we out.